Lucas sat in the dimly lit room, surrounded by a group of men who were all staring at him intently. He had spent the last few weeks meticulously planning every detail of the bank heist, and now it was time to present his master plan. The bank they were targeting was owned by a wealthy and corrupt man named Kane. He was notorious in the small town for his ruthless business practices, and Lucas was determined to bring him down. Lucas had spent months studying the bank's security system, analyzing its weaknesses and devising ways to exploit them. He had recruited a team of skilled thieves, each with their own unique set of talents. As he began to outline his plan, the room fell silent. The men listened intently as Lucas described how they would enter the bank undetected, disable the security cameras and alarms, and make their way to the vault where they would empty of its contents. It was a risky plan, but Lucas was confident that they could pull it off. The team had rehearsed every step of the operation, and they were all highly motivated to take down Kane and his corrupt empire. The night of the heist arrived, and Lucas and his team sprang into action. They moved quickly and silently, slipping past the guards and making their way to the vault. Lucas expertly cracked the combination, and they began to fill their bags with stacks of cash. But just as they were about to make their escape, something unexpected happened. A group of armed men burst into the bank, guns blazing. Lucas and his team were caught off guard, and a fierce gun battle ensued. In the chaos, Lucas realized that something was wrong. The guards were too well-trained, too well-equipped. It was almost as if they had known about the heist in advance. As the firefight raged on, Lucas knew that they had been set up, but by whom and why? Just as he was about to make his escape, Lucas was hit by a bullet and fell to the ground. The last thing he saw before he lost consciousness was a figure stepping out of the shadows, a figure that looked suspiciously like Kane. Lucas woke up in a dimly lit room, his head throbbing with pain. He struggled to sit up, but his hands were bound tightly behind his back. He tried to remember what had happened, but his memories were foggy. As his eyes adjusted to the dim light, Lucas saw that he was not alone in the room. Kane was sitting across from him, a smug expression on his face. "Hello, Lucas," Kane said, his voice dripping with malice. "I've been waiting for this moment for a long time." Lucas's mind raced as he tried to piece together what had happened. It was clear that Kane had set them up, but he couldn't understand why. "Why did you do it?" Lucas asked, his voice hoarse. Kane chuckled. "Oh, Lucas, you really don't understand, do you? You thought you could just waltz into my bank and take what you wanted? You thought you were smarter than me." Lucas gritted his teeth. He knew that Kane was a dangerous man, but he had never imagined that he would go to such lengths to protect his wealth. "What do you want from me?" Lucas asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "I want you to suffer," Kane said. "I want you to know what it's like to lose everything. I want you to feel the pain that you've inflicted on so many people over the years." Lucas's heart sank as he realized what Kane was talking about. He had always been proud of his intelligence, but he had used it to hurt people instead of helping them. He had cheated and manipulated his way to the top, leaving a trail of broken relationships and shattered dreams behind him. Kane stood up and walked over to Lucas. looming over him like a predator. "I'm going to make sure that you never forget this moment, Lucas. I'm going to take everything from you, just like you've taken from so many others." Lucas closed his eyes, bracing himself for whatever was about to happen, but to his surprise, Kane simply walked out of the room, leaving him alone in the darkness. Lucas's mind raced as he tried to come up with a plan. He knew that he had to get out of there before Kane came back, but he was still bound and helpless. He searched his pockets for anything that could help him, and his fingers closed around a small piece of metal. It was a paper clip, one of the tools that he had used to disable the bank's security system. Lucas smiled to himself as he realized that he might still have a chance. With shaky hands, Lucas began to work on the knots that bound his wrists together. It was slow and painful work, but he didn't give up. Finally, after what felt like hours, the ropes fell away and he was free. Lucas staggered to his feet, his head still spinning. He knew that he had to find a way out of the building before Kane came back. He stumbled down the hallway, his eyes scanning for any sign of escape. To his relief, he saw a small window at the end of the hallway. It was too high for him to reach, but he spotted a nearby chair that he could use to climb up. He dragged the chair over to the window and climbed up onto it. His hands shaking with adrenaline, he pushed open the window and breathed in the fresh air, feeling a surge of hope. But just as he was about to climb out, he heard footsteps behind him. He turned around to see Kane standing in the doorway, a gun in his hand. "I told you that you would never escape, Lucas," Kane said, his voice cold and unforgiving. Lucas felt his heart racing as he looked at the gun in Kane's hand. He knew that he was in serious trouble. "I should have known better than to underestimate you," Kane said, his eyes flickering with anger. "But now it's too late. You're going to pay for what you've done." Lucas tried to think of a way out, but he knew that he was trapped. He had no weapon, no backup plan, and no way to defend himself. "Please," Lucas said, his voice trembling, "don't do this. We can work something out. We don't have to be enemies." Kane laughed bitterly. "You think I want to be friends with you? You're nothing but a thief and a liar. You've taken everything that I have worked for, and now you're going to pay for it." Lucas closed his eyes, bracing himself for the worst. But to his surprise, he heard a loud noise from outside the room. It sounded like a group of people were breaking into the building. Kane looked startled, his grip on the gun faltering for a moment. Lucas saw his chance and lunged forward, grabbing the gun and pushing Kane to the ground. Kane struggled to free himself, but Lucas held him down with all his strength. He knew that he had to keep Kane subdued until help arrived. Moments later, the door burst open, and a group of police officers rushed into the room. They handcuffed Kane and pulled him to his feet, while Lucas collapsed onto the ground, gasping for air. "We got here as soon as we could," one of the officers said, helping Lucas up. "Are you okay?" Lucas nodded weakly, his mind still reeling from the shock. He couldn't believe that he had come so close to death. As the officers led Kane away, Lucas realized that he had learned a valuable lesson. He had always believed that his intelligence could solve any problem, but he had been wrong. He had only succeeded because of the help of others, his team, his friends, and the police officers who had come to his rescue. From that day on, Lucas vowed to use his talents for good. to help those in need and make a positive impact on the world. He knew that he had been given a second chance, and he wasn't going to waste it. As he walked out of the building, Lucas felt a sense of relief and gratitude wash over him. He had survived the bank robbery, but more importantly, he had learned the true value of teamwork and compassion, and that, he knew, was the real plot twist of the story.